October is a great time to read ghost stories. If you like thrillers or paranormal fiction, October really has that Halloween vibe that can get you in the right mood. I'm author Gwen Alyce Clayton, and today I have 5 authors, other than myself, of course, that I would like to recommend that you read during the spooky time of year. Please be warned that I am going to give spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read the books yet and you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to skip this video. As a writer myself, I love to read. My usual routine is to make coffee first thing in the morning, and I love to enjoy a hot cup of coffee that first hour in the morning, complete solitude with a good book. I read for about an hour and then I get to work. I am a pathetically slow reader. I am constantly spacing out, and I'll be 2 pages past where I can remember leaving off. So I'll have to go back and reread a page or 2, at least a few paragraphs, to catch myself up. And sometimes I have to do that fairly frequently. But with this first book that I'm going to talk about, I didn't have that problem. I felt like the author was on the other side of the couch, and she was just telling me conversationally about the stories that she was experiencing. Like, we were just having a cup of Earl Grey or something like that. I don't know if she drinks tea, but let's pretend she does. So I'm talking about One Bed Over, A Hospital Haunting by Alyce Matsuo. This is the book this is the author that was featured in the Discovery Plus episode of Haunted Hospitals. It was season 3, episode 12, Why You and Not Me. I don't think that was the name of it, but anyhow, that came out in July of 2021, and then this book just came out October 2nd. Now, I went ahead and bought the ebook. It sells for $2.99. It is on Amazon Kindle or on Kindle Unlimited. I canceled my subscription to KU because it's $9.99 a month, and I just wasn't reading $10 a month worth of ebooks. But so I just go ahead and I pay for the book full price, and that way the author gets the full amount of royalties, and it ends up being better anyway, I think. So anyhow, I really, really loved this book, and let me tell you why. This is what it says on the back cover, or what would be the back cover. Anyhow, this is the description on the Amazon site. Growing up, Alyce peeked through the veil a few times, but was never brave enough to truly dive in. She kept the paranormal at arm's length until a rainy night on New Year's Eve gave her a front row seat to the supernatural. Moments after a car accident, she was hit by a second car and fell off a freeway ramp, surviving a 25-foot fall. In mere seconds, Alyce's brush with death opened the door to the other side and quickly turned into a horrifying experience. This event had devastating consequences when a spirit she met on the other side didn't stay put. As the spirit was filled with jealousy and rage, Alyce had to stop avoiding what scared her most. So I ended up following Alyce on Facebook and on YouTube. Her YouTube channel is really good. If you are into the real non-fiction paranormal investigations, this is a really good channel to follow. She doesn't just do I get really frustrated with paranormal investigators because sometimes they want to play witch. They want to play ghost hunter. They want to play demonologist. And it's more about the drama than it is about, okay, what are we really looking at here? So I really like the fact that Alyce's channel is the real thing. It's the real deal. And she and I are just, that's what I'm talking about here. So with my writing, now I write paranormal fiction, and it's completely paranormal. I mean, it's completely fictional. I don't claim to be a paranormal investigator. I have gone on a few investigations, but I don't own any equipment or anything like that. But I do have a theory, and what I write about in my books, I call it the Kamadi theory. Now, the Kamadis are the people of Old Town Rivervine, and Rivervine is the fictional city which serves as the setting for my books. And the Kamadis are the people who inhabit Rivervine, and they're kind of their own, I won't say they're a cult, but they are their own. They have developed their own neo-pagan religion that they practice. And the word Kamadi comes from the ancient Dutchan language for peasant. It's a word I co-opted. I admit I did that. But it's just the word that they used to describe themselves because the ancestors were from Romania. The Kamadis believe that when a person dies, the physical shell just deteriorates and it returns to carbon or whatever happens to the physical body when you die. But the mind lives on. The mind is mental energy. This includes your personality, your intelligence, your skills, your beliefs, your memories, all of that. Anything that is mental energy, we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. So what happens to all of that mental energy? That is what the Kamadis call a ghost. So that is our definition of a ghost. It's your mental energy upon bodily death. So that's my interpretation of it. So applying that concept to Matsuo's book. Now, here is the spoiler alert. So if you don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and pause this video now and come back to it after you've read the book, because I'm going to spoil it for you. She talks about this in both her book and on the show Haunted Hospitals. She talks about the man in the leather jacket, and he is the entity that keeps haunting her even after she leaves the hospital after her tragic accident. My thought is that when this guy died, and we're talking physical bodily death here, his mental energy, his personality, his memories, and his habits continued. And I think that during his life, he was like a wife beater or some other domestic abuser. He was a stalker. He was probably a bad guy. And that continued after death. Now, in the book, she talks about thinking that maybe he was a demon. And that's why her mom, and she does this in the Haunted Hospitals episode, her mom reads Bible verses, and it does absolutely no good because they think they're fighting a demon. I don't really know what a demon is. I haven't been able to wrap my brain around the concept of a demon. Now, my friend Stephanie Reisner, whom I interviewed during my Krembeschnacht book launch last December, she's a demonologist. So I will put some links in the description below to her website so you can contact her if you want more information on demonology. But that is not my bailiwick, and I'm not even going to get into that. But I think the man in the leather jacket was a ghost. And what I would recommend, if he ever comes back or anything, if you ever find yourself where you are being haunted by a violent ghost and it's not a demon, whatever a demon is, look into getting domestic violence counseling, because that is what is happening. It is a form of domestic violence, and you need to seek help. I was stalked by my first husband. I went to the domestic abuse shelter in Amador County, where I lived at the time, and they taught me, do not engage. So do not engage, do not feed the troll, do not feed the demon, do not give this entity what it's looking for. That's very, very, very important for all of us to learn. But anyhow, back to Alyce Matsuo. Again, the book is One Bed Over, a Hospital Haunting. You can get it on ebook, and you can get a paperback copy. The paperback is $12.99. It's $2.99 ebook, or free to read on Kindle Unlimited. And I will post links to everything down below. And Alyce, if you are watching, I would really love to hang out with you sometime, and I would especially love to go on an investigation with you. I think we have a lot in common. So now let's move on to our next book of the month. All right, I am running out of time. Spent a little more time than I planned on with the first book, but that was my favorite, and I wanted to make sure I got that in. The second book I want to tell you about, I was supposed to, and I totally flaked on this author, and I feel horrible. She had sent me an excerpt to review, which I didn't get a chance to read, and a whole bunch of promotional materials to talk about her book. I'm in the process of moving. We're moving from Fort Wayne to West Virginia, and I just didn't have time to read her excerpt or the promotional materials or arrange for an interview. So, but I do want to talk about her book. It came out, I think it came out October 1st, and the book is called Behind the Veil. The author is E.J. Dawson, and let me read you the description. Can she keep the secrets of her past to rescue a girl tormented by a ghost? In 1920s Los Angeles, Letitia Hawking reads the veil between life and death. A scrying bowl allows her to experience the final moments of the deceased. She brings closure to grief-stricken war widows and mourning families. For Letitia, it is a penance. She knows no such peace. For Alistair Driscoll, it may be the only way to save his niece Finola from her growing night terrors. But when Letitia sees a shadowy figure attached to the household, it rouses old fears of her unspeakable past in England. When a man comes to her about his missing daughter, the third girl to go missing in as many months, Letitia can't help him when she can't see who's taken them. As the darkness haunts Letitia's vision, she may not be given a choice in helping the determined Mr. Driscoll or stop herself falling in love with him. But to do so risks a part of herself she locked away, and to release it may cost Letitia her sanity and her heart. So Behind the Veil by E.J. Dawson was published October 1st, 2021. It's a gothic noir novel with the intended age group of adults. It is 252 pages and is published by Literary Wanderlust. For content warning, there are dark adult themes, death, murder, miscarriage, suicide, rape, and pedophilia. Those last two are mentioned only. There is no explicit content in the book. They were having a whole book blitz that I flaked on. My apologies to E.J. Dawson and to the publisher and everybody who sent this to me. But let me tell you a little bit about the author. Beginning a writing journey with an epic 21-book series, E.J. started her author career in 2014 and has taken on the ups and downs of self-publishing with her fantasy series, The Last Prophecy, since 2016. At the start of 2019, she put the series on the back burner to write Behind the Veil in 25 days, and signed a publishing contract for the Gothic noir novel to independent publisher Literary Wanderlust. Behind the Veil is set for release on October 1st, 2021. She resumed self-publishing a sci-fi series, Queen of Spades, released across 2020 and 2021, as well as signing another contract with Literary Wanderlust for NA Fantasy Echo of Every Cry. Believing in more than one path to a career in publishing, EJ pursues self-publishing alongside querying traditional publishers and multiple manuscripts. Now, I will leave a post to all of her information in the description below if you think that is something that you would like to check out. And I certainly do wish EJ the very best of luck. Moving on, I bought this little book. We were in West Virginia this past weekend, and I didn't bring a book with me to read. So I stopped into a local bookstore, and I found this, Hope in Darkness and Other Stories by R.C. Birch. And it turns out R.C. Birch is a woman who lives across the West Virginia border in eastern Kentucky. And this is just a nice little series of 5 short stories that are kind of warm and fuzzy, and it's really good. It's only 64 pages long, so you can read this in one sitting. It's really easy. You can see the text it's got big text and it's double spaced. So there are a few typos and oopsies. They're not really typos. I call them oopsies though. But I think it's self-published, or it's under her own imprint. But she writes under the name R.C. Birch, and these are also Christian themed. So it isn't. The stories aren't overly preachy. You can tell that the author is a Christian, and it's meant to inspire you in the Christian way of life, but it isn't overly preachy, and I didn't find it offensive at all. It was just warm and fuzzy. So that was good. And then I want to talk about The Woman in Cabin 10 was my book club's book of the month. And this is written by Ruth Ware. And I first read her book in A Dark, Dark Wood. I read this last year, and I liked the first book better than this book, but they were both pretty good. Her writing is very Agatha Christie-esque, so if you like Agatha Christie, you'll like her books. So those were good. I recommend them. And the really nice thing is, my friends in the book club, I asked them to sign my book because this was going to be my last meeting for the book club because I'm moving. So that was really nice. I have that nice memento from them. The final book to talk about tonight is Djinn Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anapara. And I bought this book because it has the word Djinn in the title. And I love all things folklore. So to let you know what a Djinn is, if you saw the TV show Supernatural, they have Djinn in their universe, although they're not really Djinn in traditional folklore. But the Djinn are characters from Islamic folklore, or I shouldn't even say folklore. They're part of the Quran. It's the root word of the word genie. So whenever you see Aladdin and the magic lamp, or I dream of genie, or all that all comes from the root of the word jinn. And I don't think she goes into it in this book. But just to give you some background on what the jinn are, in Islamic culture, man was made of clay, angels were made from light, and jinn were made from smokeless fire. So I've heard some people guess that the smokeless fire means plasma, but I don't see how the writers from back then would have known what plasma was. It was, the more research I did, smokeless fire has more to do with the heat of the sand of the desert. So that's what the Djinn are. They are the heat of the sand of the desert. So that is a Djinn, and the Djinn, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, I don't think the Djinn are necessarily evil. I think they're jealous of humans for dominating the earth. I think the Earth was originally supposed to be ruled by the Djinn, and then man came along and we took it over from them. So there's a rivalry there, but I don't think they're necessarily evil. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. Spoiler alert, this book has nothing to do with Djinn. There is one character, a little boy, who is Muslim. Most of the characters are Hindu, but some of them are Muslim. So there's one Muslim boy who insists that the reason all these children are missing is because of an evil Djinn. And so there's some reference to the Djinn, but this book is mostly a peek into Indian society, East Indian society. So the impoverished nature of the culture in India, especially how it affects children. But this book is not a mystery. It's not really scary. I guess there's some mystery elements, but I would have liked to have seen more mystery, more foreshadowing, more suspense, and this book just didn't really scratch my itch. But it is a good peek into life in I forgot what city they're in. It's a good peek inside life in the poorer parts of metropolitan India. So that's something you can read if you're into it, but just be forewarned that it's not very suspenseful and there isn't a whole lot of Djinnism in there, if you're a folklore junkie like I am. Okay, so that wraps up my October reading list for you. I will be back next Tuesday with another video. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. I'll find out. I am author Gwen Alyce Clayton. You have been watching the Rivervine YouTube channel. Please be sure to give this a thumbs up if you found this video entertaining and or informative, and be sure to subscribe if you would like to watch more content and help support this channel. If you would like to financially support me, you can do so via Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Rivervine. I have 3 different levels you can join. Each level gets special content. And if you are interested in my books, you can find me on Amazon. Otherwise, if you would like to just find out more about me and read my blog, you can visit my website at gwenclaytonwrites.com. And I will see you next Tuesday, my friends.